Good evening. Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Tonight's topic, we're going to get into more politics. We're going to talk about liberal policies and how they destroy a country. Liberal policies destroy a country. Let's get into the topic. Well, I've been doing politics over 20 years. And I'm talking about writing about it, doing debates about it. I even worked for some politicians as a volunteer just to get an understanding of what goes into political campaigns, advertising. It's a good business if you enjoy the campaign part because you have to meet a lot of people. You're on a stage. You are actually a performer. Because a lot of what a politician says is really a lie. We all know that. Politicians are lawyers, and a lawyer is one of the most dishonest professions that has ever came about. But we need lawyers. That being said, let's get into the liberal policies. Liberal policies that come from extreme left-wing candidates, which I'm put under candidate your college professors, your media, and all of your other social movements like the feminist movement, the peace movement, the hippie movement. We're going to connect those back to the 1960s. You really have to have your eyes and your ears open when it comes to liberals. Liberals tend to talk out of both sides of their mouths. Let's take the feminist movement. When white feminism was established off the backs of the civil rights movement of the 1960s, white women asked black women to jump on board their movement. And they got black women indoctrinated into saying that black men were oppressing black women. Now, if that were true, I'd have $1 million right now. And I don't have $1 million, so you know that's not true. The only reason why white feminists even cared about black women at that time wasn't even about black women. It was to raise their numbers. That was it. Because everything that goes on with black women in the black community were the white feminists. They're nowhere to be found. Let's look at the health care bill. President Obama wants to denounce Donald Trump for wanting to repeal the debacle known as Obamacare. Well, when you have bad policy like this, everybody's premium is going up, and most of us really don't understand it because we didn't get a chance to read the bill. Nancy Pelosi got behind a podium once the bill was rammed through without any Republicans. She said, you'll have to read it. So you're putting out policy that you haven't read, and you don't understand. Plus, it's 3,300 pages. A bill shouldn't have to be that exorbitant unless you're putting a lot of earmarks or fat in that bill to try to pay your constituents off, because that's basically what politics is. But this is what liberal policies tend to do. They tend to make one side feel guilty by not giving up their resources to the other side. But meanwhile, the left in this country, you're talking about the wealthiest 1%, they're living off of everybody else. In fact, if you look at most of the left-wingers who are always out there marching on news, they got a lot of time on their hands. They don't really work. They're not producing anything. They're just living off of everybody else. Your college professors, they could get behind their microphones, podiums, in a class of 450 students and indoctrinate every student with his or her point of view. Case in point, you go to a women's studies class in a college and you disagree with that feminist professor, what's going to happen? You're going to get a low grade. I didn't have to take any women's studies courses in college, but I did take a sociology course in college, and I disagreed with the professor, and I ended up getting a C out of the class. And I was very unhappy, but he had an agenda. This is what liberals do. They want everyone to think like they think, and that's the problem. They talk about diversity all the time. Well, diversity that they actually insinuate is always racial diversity. They don't talk about diversity of thought, and that's what you need in any business or education or real world situation, because the more choices you have, you can find a solution. You can even take bits and pieces of different points of view that make sense and put them together and have a good policy. But liberals don't want that. Liberals are very narcissistic in general because they love the power. This is why they do anything and everything to maintain their position politically. Because right now, the liberals are out of power, and they're going to continue to be out of power because their policies aren't working. They talk about equality, going back to the women's movement. Well, the women don't really want equality. They want to be the supreme gender, but they want to utilize the guise of equality as an intent to put their narrative into place. And they're going to do it through the liberal judges like the Ninth Circuit Courts of Appeal. I call it the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals in California. One of the reasons why a lot of these policies get passed, it's because the Republicans, and the Republicans had time to repudiate some of these policies that Obama had. But you know what? They're not conservatives either. They're liberals as well. You see, one thing I will tell you about liberals, they are very good with the rhetorical information. They spin it, and they know how to cater to everyone's emotion. And that's the kicker right there. See, there's a difference between an argument and a debate. When I'm having a debate with somebody, it's not that I disagree with what they're saying. I'm just taking a position of my belief based on the facts that I have discovered. And my opponent is doing the same thing. But the object of a debate is to understand what my opponent is saying, taking my opponent's position. Because if I can take my opponent's position, I can deconstruct his or her argument. We'll see. What liberals do is they will pettifog. And what I mean by pettifogging, they will change the subject to fit their narrative. And once they change the subject, let's say I'm talking about the health care bill. Now they want to talk about women's rights. They'll bring an issue like that into play to distract me from talking about the health care bill. And when I go over here to an issue that women strongly believe in and I disagree with it, what happens? Now you no longer have a debate on what you were just talking about, which is health care. Now you're talking about something totally different, and it's an emotional subject. And what happens? You have now become emotional since you've lost all of your ability to think logically. And this is what liberals do. Liberal policies have never made sense. They've always had good intent. Going back to the health care bill, that's a liberal policy. If it was so great, How come Obama doesn't have the health care bill? How come Nancy Pelosi doesn't have it? Harry Reid? I mean, these were the top dogs that put the health care bill into action. Let's look at the environment. You have the Sierra Club. Well, the object of these environmental groups is to stop more building. They use the fact that we're going to destroy wildlife if we build a subdivision or a factory. But the fact of the matter is, the Sierra Club, they don't want jobs. They want to maintain a society that's impoverished. This is why the Sierra Club and other radical environmentalist groups had problems with SUVs. You see, when you deal with liberal politics, liberals do not know how to debate because they lose every debate. So what a liberal does, they react very childishly and they get very violent. You look at Bill Ayers. He's a professor in the Chicago area. Look at other radicals. Margaret Sanger, Gloria Steinem. If you look at every liberal movement in the United States, this is what you got today. We got more government and less money. We don't have families. You can't discipline your kids like you used to. This is why kids are out of control. This is why families are broken. This is why the cost of college tuition is very high, the cost of gas, because of liberal policies. Going back to the environmentalists, we haven't had a new oil refinery built since 1976. So where do we get our oil? We have to go overseas to get our oil. What does that do? That raises the price because we have to pay for transportation costs. We've had 2 spills, the BP spill down in the Gulf of Mexico and the Exxon Valdez up near Alaska. Had we had our own oil refineries here, that wouldn't have happened. And this is why so many environmentalists don't want to build that pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline. You see, all the ideas that are generated to actually help the everyday person, the liberals shoot it down because they benefit, because liberals aren't very productive people. They're mouthpieces for what? Socialism and communism. There is no such thing as equality. Not the way they present it. I believe in equal opportunity, but equal outcomes do not exist. Let me give you a scenario. If I gave everybody $5 million, as individuals, you're going to have some who are going to go spend that $5 million in one day. You're going to have some that save that $5 million. Well, the people who save ended up getting an ROI, return on an investment. The person who spent all their money up now doesn't have any money. So what happens? They want some of your money. So what are they going to do? They're going to run to the courts, run to the legislatures. We're all on the left side. And they're going to make up a law that wealth must be redistributed equally. So that means you're going to take money from hardworking or productive citizens to give to lazy people. That's generally what it is. You look at a lot of your divorce laws. Who came up with the no-fault divorce? Your feminists. What are they? Liberal. The radical homosexual agenda. Now, I don't care what you are, but if you can say what you want to a conservative or a libertarian, they should have the same right to criticize. But the problem with liberals, they talk about free speech, but there really is no free speech. It's their speech. And if you look at the hierarchy of everything, the one that gets screwed the most is the white Christian male. You see, the black man can talk about the the white man. But he can't talk about homosexuals. He can't talk about women. He can't talk about black women. Black women can talk about white men, white women, gays, lesbians. White women can talk about everybody but black women. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Again, it's a hierarchy on who has all the free speech. And when you get to brass taxes, it's basically the women who have all the free speech. In fact, it's the women who actually benefit from all the liberal policies because most of the resources go into women. Section 8, they get more money to go to school. There's nothing wrong with going to school, but they can have many babies out of wedlock and not be held responsible. Men have to be responsible, and this is liberal policies. The world is not fair. However, the lifestyle that men have made for women and themselves is not respected. Let me give you something else. Doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, but ever since President Bill Clinton, the office of the presidency has been disrespected. I know when Obama was in office, there was talk from the right wing about Obama. But here's the difference. The right wing stayed the course. Obama won the presidency twice, but he also lost the Congress twice. So in essence, that made him a lame duck president. That's why his signature piece of legislation was Obamacare. And he still believes in all these radical policies. Radical policies take jobs out of America. You can't spank your kids. This is why kids are disrespectful. College tuition goes up. Cost of food and gas goes up. Families are broken up. It becomes an industry for lawyers. This is why you have high cost of health care, because of malicious lawsuits. That's why we need tort reform. And see, every time a liberal spouts the wealthiest 1%, they're in the wealthiest 1%. If you look at a lot of your government workers, they're liberals. Though in a bad economy, who's making the most money? It's people working in the government. And that's what happens in companies or in countries that have large dictatorships. It's always the bureaucrats who come out living fantastic lifestyles while the citizens are impoverished. And that's what happens when you vote for liberal politicians. Last thing, you look at taxes. You need taxes to pay for services. However, liberals who basically run the government have spent a lot of money. Although when President Bush was in office, he had more debt than Bill Clinton. President Obama had more debt than President Bush. It's going to take more than 4 years to clean up the debt that Obama had by Trump. So the next time you hear liberal spouting equality, you try to debate that liberal about equality. See how far you get. Liberals have good intent, but they are not tolerant of any other view but their view. They're like petulant children. But if you look through their emotion and understand how the real world works, liberals do not want freedom and liberty. They want total destruction of the country. And you had two professors known as Cloward and Pivens, who were Harvard professors, that wanted to collapse the welfare system so they can start something brand new. Basically, liberals believe in communism and socialism. They believe the way to equality is through radical liberal policies of government running the economy. You look at these other countries that have the isms like socialism, communism, which was derived from Marxism. The record will speak for itself. They're impoverished. They're third world countries. And if we keep going down that road in socialism and communism, we're going to be right there. And that is my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this evening, Saturday, January 28th, 2017. You can tune in to the 411 Talk Zone radio show every Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest calling number is 215-383-5785. If you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Now on this channel, I don't engage in debates, controversial, social, emotional issues, nor do I participate in drama and unnecessary bickering. This channel, I provide educational, business, career, and political advice as well as news because I want everyone to learn how the real world operates. So I keep everything realistic but positive because knowledge is power. And if you have a business or a topic that you would like for me to discuss on Blog Talk Radio or YouTube, just email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, please leave it in the comment section under the video. Now, you have to make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering if you wish to opine. That's it for this video. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful and have a wonderful and blessed night. Good night.